Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. We have got a show that you are going to love every second of. We're going to start off with an appetizer of stupid, partnering with a little bit of, honestly, humor. Then we're going to dive into the real big issue of the Democrats still lying through their propaganda and polls, and then the main line of the entire video. Turns out we have 18 billion reasons why the Democrats are going to be haunted by this entire whole Somali thing in Minnesota. This one, you're going to want to see every bit of it. So as you guys get in here, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on, and when you get in here, make sure the audio and video is also functioning, because you know how that YouTube algorithm doesn't always work the way it's supposed to between you and I. I do apologize out the gate. I'm about 3 minutes late. I'm going to be really honest with you. Kenny Rogers, the Gambler, came on and I had to finish the song. I mean, like, it's like a sin against humanity if you don't. But anyway, I'm just saying, guys, we've got audio, we've got video. It looks like we are almost off to the races. Okay, excellent. Let the inappropriate jokes fly. Mike Hall must have seen my last video with the old Gavster being coronated into kingdom. All right, listen, people. There is a very simple rule that we operate under. Well, a couple simple rules, really. One, we're going to save the country together. Two, comments, chats, and emojis make the world go round. And three, I hope you have one hell of a time during this show of all the smorgasbord of things prepared. Everything is linked in the description box below, per usual. Comments. Wait, I can't type and do this and talk at the same time. Comments, chats, emojis make the emotes, that works. Make the world go round. And you guys know the rule. Once it gets pinned, once it gets posted, we are ready to rock. There we go. It is up. We are about to have a blast together, every single one of you guys. I hope you enjoy the hell out of this episode. All right, let's get into this. We have got so much to cover. Okay. If you're new to this, here's the rule of thumb. We start off with an appetizer. It's usually funny. There's a whole lot of sarcasm, and sometimes there's just plain stupidity. In this case, you're probably going to get all three. Let's dive right in to the Mecca that is California, the land of which the new king hails from, apparently. We're going to walk through something that could be construed as, I mean, anything from suicidal empathy to complete and total enabling. We're going to walk through how California deals with drug dealers. Or not drug dealers, drug addicts. Because a lot of the times you could say that they're afflicted but with something. People who are addicted to drugs. Yeah, they are. You know what's really not a good way to do it? A really good way not to do it is to use state-sponsored needles and bongs and state-sponsored ways of acquiring the things that they're going to do anyway. By the way, those exact same rules that they apply to gun control and, abortion and all those things, in those cases, they're not going to do them anyway. But in drugs, they're going to do it anyway. We might as well state supply it. Anyway, let's get into this. This is coming from Santa Monica, the amazing place that is California. Let's get it. Watch what happens. And this is obviously not enabling an issue at all. Bringing care to you in Tongya Park. Yep, checks out.
Can I help you?
Yeah. Can I help you?
Checking to see where my tax dollars are going.
Oh, look! Addicts. Yeah, okay. All right. I'm seeing it. The picture is being painted here. Oh, that's actually sad. I didn't realize that part was in there. That's actually sad. I feel bad about it. Okay, you guys get the idea. So here's the thing. UCLA medical team has been handing out needles and drug pipes to addicts at Wilshire and Westgate Wednesday, December 10th, 2025 at 3 p.m. Loaded up their van with 3 to 4 addicts and dealers, then dropped them off in Santa Monica's Tongva Park between City Hall and the Santa Monica Pier. Okay. Y'all, like, at what point do we just have to quadruple down on stupid? So the big move here is to just enable the problem. Again, this is that suicidal empathy. This is the enabling that happens from the liberals and the lefties, which you're going to see here in a second with the Somali fraud that's coming in on the tail end of this episode. Again, I've got it all. It's linked. But it's two things that I addressed in my earlier short today. It's about the combination of suicidal empathy, not being able to say no to anybody, and then creating an open spigot with no accountability whatsoever, and from nanny to grave, welfare state. This is a problem. And it's going to haunt them forever. You see it in California. You see it in Minnesota. We're going to open up the spigots and the floodgates, and anybody and everybody can get that welfare. And amazingly, it's so weird that people who want to do fraud and commit fraud get there, and when you call them out on it, they accuse you of being a racist or an Islamophobe or whatever phobe you want to be. And then you back off because you're a lefty. Good job. All right, let's keep on going. This is just the beginning, people. We have got to talk to a man who knows what's going on. All right. We're going to do something that is not really funny, but it's something that I need to hear a whole lot more of. I'm going to let JD Vance go here for a second. This opener is what I need to see a whole lot more of. Listen to him address this issue and how he basically says, screw you, we're going to do what the American people need to do. I need more of this. All right, let's get it. Again, we're just getting warmed up, people. Emojis, comments, chats, let's get it.
There's been a few cases out there where the Democrats
Happens every
say,
time.
oh, this person was just an innocent father of three, and then you find out, for example, I think this is the case that you're talking about. Back in 2019, an immigration judge looked at all the evidence, looked at all the data, and concluded that this allegedly innocent person that we sent to El Salvador was actually a member of an MS-13 gang. He had also committed some traffic violations. He had not shown up for some court dates. This is not exactly father of the year here. This is a person that we don't think should be in our country. Here's the most important point, though, Lawrence, is whatever the argument is, whatever the justification is, no one doubts, not even the crazy left-wing media criticized the idea that we could deport this person. They just took issue with the reasoning for why we deported this person. This was unquestionably an illegal alien. This was unquestionably a person who broke the laws to get into our country. This is unquestionably a person an immigration judge had found had zero right to be in the United States of America. We do not ask permission from far left Democrats before we deport illegal immigrants. We do the American people's business. And again,
hey, you remember that episode that we did where I was doing a reaction to like the Mark Ruffalo thing where it's like, preach. Yeah, you got one of those for me on that one, JD, because I don't give a shit what you say. We're going to do the American people's business. Good. More of that. Straight talk. Dealing in actually enforcing existing law, making the country better by following the laws and actually giving some accountability, and then not being apologetic about it. Hey, lefties, come here. You want to know why people like JD Vance and like Donald Trump? It's because all of your mealy-mouthed crap that you've been doing for 25 and 30 years, where you just openly say all these backdoor politically correct statements. You don't just say what everyone knows and is obvious right on its face, like JD Vance just did. That's the reason everyone appeals to it, because everyone is sick of the crap. Honest to God, that's the big super secret sauce. Let's keep going. He's got more.
for the American people who are watching, this is such a weird, mistaken placement of priorities. We need to make our country stronger. We need to create jobs. We need to make our streets safer. What is it about congressional Democrats that get more angry at deporting violent gang members than they do at the victims of those violent gang members? I don't even understand where they're coming from. They've gone off the deep end, and they got to come back to reality.
Okay, seriously, y'all, when I tell you the man is the front runner for a reason, this is why. Because he can speak clearly, he can identify an issue, he can articulate the issue, and he can bring it back to common sense, and he paints a villain. In this case, the Democrats are obviously the villain, because that's quite simple and easy to understand. This is something that I want you guys to understand as we go forward. I know I said understand twice, sorry. I want you to comprehend and pass along to the nearest person that you think has hope. When you're looking at what the left does, and again, this is going to filter into everything. Again, I always do breadcrumbs through this forest, and then all of a sudden we arrive at the witch's house, Hansel and Gretel style, okay? When you're looking at everything that they do, they are upset about the deportation of the guy. They're not upset about the victims of said guy, okay? That's a very, very common thing every single time. It's not about the fallout of the actions of this individual, it's that you're making this individual leave. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? No, it doesn't. That's why J.D. Vance resonates. That's why they attack him now. That's why he's going to kick the crap out of Gavin Newsom. At least that's what I think is going to happen. But I don't predict the future here. I just leave it up to you guys, give you the stuff, and we work through it. All right. So now this next one. Again, guys, we're just now getting into the part where we start dispelling the propaganda, and then we're going to basically drop some truth nukes. All right, so One of the big things that the left is consistently saying, and Harry Inton makes an appearance here in a second too, because you guys know how I love me some Harry Inton on CNN. One of the big things that the left tells you is everything's horrible. Everyone cares about affordability. You're going to see it in the polling here in a second with Harry when he pops up. Everything's awful. Everyone hates everybody. The gas prices are high, so Donald Trump hates you because gas prices are high and he sucks at life. And then when the gas prices fall off a cliff underneath $3 a gallon nationally, well, then it's because we're in a recession and Donald Trump still hates you. It's almost like it's a win-win conversation slide ruler of propaganda. But anyway, we're going to start dispelling that for a second. Let me just hit a few things here. Byron Donalds, probably the guy who's going to end up being the governor of Florida. Watch this.
Gas prices are down. Energy prices are coming down. Inflation's under control. Wages adjusted for inflation are up and they are rising. That helps people feel more wealthy in the economy today, as opposed to what was happening under Joe Biden when wages were adjusted for inflation were down. People were having more money go out of their pocket and getting less goods and less services. That's not the recipe for success. I think the GDP report that just came out, 4.2 number, well over the estimates. That's going to give the Federal Reserve, I think, more data in order to continue to cut rates, which are going to help people buying their first home or refinancing their current home to then decrease the cost of their borrowing or getting a new car, whatever the case might be. All these different pieces of news and information about the Trump economy is going to let middle-income families, working families in our country realize that they have more purchasing power. When you have more purchasing power, you feel more wealthy. You feel the economy is going in the right direction.
Okay, and this is why I do this. I don't do this to prop anybody up. I'm not making things up. I source everything in the description box on every single video I have for the very reason of which I can point to and say, hey, you can go and look at the sources yourself and you can make your own YouTube video. I'll give it for you right down there in the description. The only thing I ask is you leave a like, a comment, or a subscribe. I mean, like, come on. But genuinely, what you're looking at right now, what he's just talking about, are the things that are going to impact everyday Americans. That is actively where you're going to hit the individual Americans. If you want to look at the people who are on all the ends of the socioeconomic ladder, gas prices, energy prices, and then cutting inflation, wages going up, and then cutting of interest rates, those affect everybody, particularly the middle to the low middle. This is where it's going to start showing up. 2026 is when all these no tax on tips and no tax on overtime starts kicking in, except if, like someone just said in the comments, unless you're in California, New York, or Illinois, in which case you don't get them in state level, so you're going to have to put a deduction on there that says, yes, sorry, here's more money, government. That was a fun video, by the way. That was a really fun video. But anyway, that's the whole point. Everything that you're seeing is starting to pick up steam, and the left knows it's coming too. All right, I got some super chats to get into. Hold on a second. Probably all those gas savings. Broncatoad, whatever. 688, $5 super chat says, if they won't assimilate, they have to vacate. I like the attempt to rhyme there. That's good. The J-Man3161 with a $5 super chat. Please tell me again that socialists don't have a chance to the general elections. I need to hear that for my sanity. All right. J-Man, the socialists don't have a chance in the general election. There's for your sanity. Here's why. And I mean, that was a tongue-in-cheek kind of in the moment thing, but I'll tell you why that is. Because clearly you need a little bit of emotional pick-me-up. The reason why they don't have a chance electorally in mass, there are going to be little pockets. You're going to have a New York. You're going to have an Illinois. You're going to have little deep blue pockets. It's going to happen. Okay? It's unavoidable. However, like Oregon, for example, is going to have a few of them. You got Texas that's going to have a few localized stuff. Whatever, doesn't matter. The reason why socialists don't call themselves socialists is because no one likes socialist. That's why they have this cute little moniker that they've adopted, Democratic Socialist, which is still socialist, but it put the word democratic in front of it, so everyone likes that. It's got to be good then. That's the whole point. Good rule of thumb. If you're consistently trying to rebrand a 125-year-old idea that's basically concluded with 100 million people dead by the hands of their own government, it's probably not a good move. Rebranding has its place. But, I mean, 100 million dead and 100 years of failure, it's not looking good. But that's why the far-left progressives do what they do. That's why they say, I'm a far-left progressive. No, you're a socialist. I'm a democratic socialist. No, you're just a socialist. But I put Democrat, so I'm good. Okay. I'm telling you, the far-left progressives are going to go to war with the moderate Democrats, which they're already starting to do. I did a video earlier this morning about how they're calling to go to war with them. and they're going to bleed themselves dry in the energy and the money and the ad spend, and then they're going to the general, and then they're going to have the Republicans sitting there just sharpening their knives with $91 million nationally, just going, come at me, bro. And that's what you're going to see. That is going to happen, and I'm going to fully and thoroughly enjoy covering it for you guys. But let's keep going. That was an incredible super chat. Started, oh God, I love it. I love when you guys get engaged like that. But let's keep on going. We have got a system to save. And by the way, that system's the greatest wealth machine and individual liberty machine that's ever been on the face of the planet. Hashtag America. All right. Gas prices are officially under $3 in 38 states. $2.65 here in Central Florida. Wow, that is crazy. I could have sworn Donald Trump hated us. Anyway, let's keep on going. RNC research. I love this so much. And then we're going to get into the Harry Intons and then the fraud stuff. The fraud stuff's the entire back end of this episode. This part is just a little pick-me-up. So RNC research. This is full-on Republican stuff. That's fine. I don't care. My whole point here is they're starting to actually do what they need to do to articulate the message that the left is what put us in this mess, and the right is starting to fix it. That's what we need to see. Watch this. 37 seconds of goodness.
Taking aim at the Biden-Harris economic record, and that's what we do too right now. January 2021, still reeling from COVID. That's when they were sworn into office. In June of 2022, inflation peaked at a high of 9.1%, which was the highest since November of 1981. Gas prices now, June and July of 2022, that same year, I've got $5.16 national average to be the peak in July of that month. In October 2023, that's when real estate started to feel it. Mortgage rates hit almost 8% in that month. Taking aim at the Biden-Harris economic record.
Man, I'll tell you what, when you put it on a chart like that, that really sucks. Gas was double the price under Biden. Interest rates were 8%. They're falling. They're like at 6.19 right now, I think. You got housing going up. Everything was really peachy and rosy, but oh my gosh. they were hope and change. It was so much joy. Yeah, okay. They're the people telling you that affordability is a Republican problem. Republicans have been in office 11 months. They were in office for 4, and then their candidate sucked wind so hard that she basically went into hibernation in wine boxes for 8 months. Okay, yeah. Let's keep on going. Hey, look, Bank of America CEO, one of those evil capitalists, Brian Moynihan on consumer spending up this year versus Biden. I tell you what, RNC, they ate their Wheaties this morning, and I'm going to just keep on playing it because I love it.
We not only see it in the aggregate, we also see it in pieces. And so if you look in the aggregate, the amount spent, through the Thanksgiving weekend on, Black Friday and Cyber Monday, through all the month of November and the first part of December, it's up 4.25% versus last year's November. And so it's growing. And then if you look by terciles, 3 buckets of income levels, it's clear the people in the bottom income level and the lower income levels are spending a little faster growth rate, but still growing, and then the middle and upper faster. So, what they're telling you is what they feel. What they're actually seeing is spending is reasonably solid heading into the end of the year.
Okay, that was on CBS, y'all. That's the CEO of Bank of America. If you recall, for everyone at home, if you weren't involved in the 2A space at the time, Bank of America were the guys that gave up all the purchase records of all their customers to say anybody that bought a gun in the area of DC around that whole J6 situation, and a little bit before that as well. These guys are not righties, okay? You're talking about consumer spending up at every single socioeconomic bucket level. That is a massive, massive deal. But don't worry, everything's horrible. We might as well go eat dirt. I'm telling you, I'm not Nostradamus. But I do know that all of the different indicators that we are seeing right now are all going to end up hitting every single person in the positive in their wallet, with wage going up, inflation going down, gas going down, interest rates going down, housing going down, rent going down, pricing and groceries going down. It's all going down. You're going to see a discretionary income boost across the board. And I'm so freaking here for it for everybody. All right, I got some super chat to catch up on. More gas savings coming in. Love it. Autumn Fragrance says we need affordability. That's exactly correct, and it's on the way. That's at least what I think, anyway. All right, Sailboat 1734 with more gas savings for a $10 super chat says, thank you for your hard work on the channel with a little landing the plane emoji. Thank you very much. And Marty Mouse with a $10 super chat, also probably gas savings, maybe interest rate savings on that one. If conservatives don't show up to the ballot box, doesn't matter what stupid things the Dems do because their brain dead followers will still vote for them. Yeah, vote blue no matter who is a real thing. Honest to God. That's why I say with every single episode, I'm going to do it now in this one, you vote like you're losing, you grind like you're losing, you work like you're losing, you talk like you're losing, you watch it like you're losing, you share this like you're losing, and then you pick up everything after the end and while the pieces are on the ground. You don't stop. Ever. Just saying. That's why I do 3 videos a day. All right, let's keep on going because we have got a mission to continue to accomplish. All right. Let's see, are we almost to Harry? Yep, one more tab till Harry. Oh my goodness gracious, look, more arrows. I love arrows. They're so easy to comprehend. I mean, even lefties don't like this stuff. I'm just going to keep on poking them because they got the whole Minnesota fraud thing going. They deserve some poking. All right, watch. This is a little segment about some things that are going up. You might see some green arrows coming. Here, watch this.
Things are looking better on the inflation front with the pace of consumer inflation cooling last month. You see it on your screen. The economy, though, growing by more than 4% in the third quarter, 4.3%, blowing away past expectations, a lot of that driven by strong consumer spending. How about President Trump's much-aligned tariffs? Well, we've seen record revenue this year, $200 billion collected. And when it comes to buying a home, mortgage rates keep trending lower compared to last year. Plus, you're feeling a little less pain at the pump with gas prices also heading in the right direction. And the stock market has been loving it with all 3 major averages posting big gains so far this year.
Y'all, that was a 48-second segment. Good God. To fit that much stuff in that 48-second segment? I mean, good Lord. Let's just keep on going. I guess, you know what? There's got to be something out here. There's a reason I'm doing it, right? Yeah, watch. Here comes Harry Inton. Then we're going to take a little bit of a monologue break, and then we're going to get right back into it. But Harry Inton has got some things to say about some polling. And you guys know how I love me some Harry Inton. I really do. He's a good dude. I don't know him, but he seems like a good dude. Watch this. He's going to go through some polling numbers, and you tell me if everything that I just showed you leading up to this point tracks with this. Okay? Not saying it's false, not saying it's fake. But understand, he's about to talk about the independents and then show something that he probably shouldn't show on CNN because they may not like it. All right, watch this. Take it away, Harry. And by the way, emojis, chats, comments, love it, guys. The engagement makes the world go round and gets around that pesky notification system, which is broken as hell. All right.
Look, 2025 was not exactly the best year for the President of the United States. He started off in pretty gosh darn good territory, right? Trump's net approval rating in January, he was 6 points above water, pretty much above where he was during his entire first term in office. But look what happens come December. 12 points underwater, way down there. That is an 18-point decline during the course of the year. Now, what has driven Donald Trump's decline in his net approval rating? Well, it's independents. That is the name of the game, baby. Look, in January, Donald Trump's net approval rating among independents was about even, -1 point. Not too hot to trot, but not too bad either. Now, whoosh, we're talking about 43 points underwater come December. That is a decline of 42 points on his net approval rating. Donald Trump is hanging out with Jacques Cousteau. That is how far underwater Donald Trump is with independents at this point. Now, what issues are driving this decline?
All right, this is a really important thing before I show you this next segment, all right? I could do an entire video, and I probably will, on this entire segment. Actually, I'm going to do it on the fallout and the commentary afterwards, but it'll probably play again. Guys, it's all about independence. In the comments, in the chats over here, tell me how many times you've heard me say it's all about independence. There's 2 things with this. One, they're focusing on independence because it's where in the middle is what determines the elections. The other thing, Republicans are fully behind Donald Trump. There's a full, complete unanimity? Whatever. There's unity on the Republican side. These things aren't scripted. Sometimes words slip. All right. That's important to understand while we go. All right. I think it adds to the realism when I can't remember words. I don't know. Let's just keep on going, though.
In Trump's approval rating, his net approval rating. Well, let's look at 2 of the key issues, right? The economy, the reason that Donald Trump was elected to a second term back in January, he was in pretty good shape at +9 points on the net approval rating. But look come December. 16 points underwater. That is a decline, doing the math quickly here, of 25 points for Donald Trump on the key issue of the day, the economy, the reason he got a second term. And then, of course, immigration, which Donald Trump has really focused in on during his second term in office, something he has been focusing on since he first ran for the presidency all the way back in 2015. Well, in January, he was 9 points above water on the issue. Now he's 6 points below water on the issue. So on the key issues of the economy, inflation, going in the wrong direction for Donald Trump. Now, there is a bit of...
Okay, that's the part I'm setting you up for, is the tiny little bit of good news. Okay, hold on a second, because there's going to be a big payoff, I promise. Here's what you have to understand about what he's showing you. You remember the relentless, nonstop, never-ending Nazis, no face, like all face coverings, no identification, abducting people, killing people. Remember all that for like 9 months on immigration? All of that got you to -6. That's all you got. -6. And this is still with independents. This is not with Republicans. This is with independents. Okay? So all that paid for propaganda, nonstop wall-to-wall coverage, got you -6. That fell flat. Then this other one, -16. And this is why I continue to hit these things so you guys can be ahead of the curve and you can see through the propaganda fog of which they are pumping out in mass overtime. -16 for independence on the economy would go under everything that I just showed you. Housing, pricing on groceries, gas, rent, inflation, interest rates, all of it. Wages going up, stock market going up, literally everything is going in the right direction. I want to highlight what he's highlighting here, but from a little bit of a different angle. January was +9, December -16. In 12 months, it went that far. You know what can happen in 12 months? Complete and total reversal when all this switches on. No tax on tips and no tax on overtime isn't even in the system yet. Come April, because it's going to be part of law, this April, people are going to have over, I believe the number was $100 to $200 billion going out of the Treasury into people's pockets because of these changes. Yeah, you think that's not going to have effect on everything I just told you, have effect on that? Keep grinding, ignore the propaganda, tune into this show multiple times a day, and make sure you share it out because I will do my very best to source everything and get in front of this. All right, guys, listen. We're going to like, we're going to share, we're going to comment, we're going to chat, we're going to emoji, and then we're going to watch this shiny, tiny little thing. Yeah, this one little caveat. Would you look at this?
Good news, or at least some solace that Donald Trump can take when you compare him to other 21st
Oh my
century
God.
presidents at this point in their second term. Look at their net approval rating. Trump is 12 points underwater, but Barack Obama right nearby at 11 points underwater. George W. Bush also right nearby at 10 points underwater. So you see this? Hey, Trump isn't doing so bad, but here's the key nugget to keep in mind. Their parties, Barack Obama's and George W. Bush's, both suffered major losses come the midterm elections in their second term. Why? Because, take a look here. Okay, term 2, negative net approval ratings at this point. Did they go positive by the midterm elections? In Barack Obama's case, no, it didn't happen. His party lost control of the Senate, suffered.
All right, you get the idea. Party go down in midterm. Caveman speak for what Harry Hitton's saying. What I love about this stuff, and let me hear you on this, what I love about this stuff is they spend all their time talking about how bad Donald Trump is, and it's unbelievable, and everyone hates him, and I've never seen anything like this. And then you look at every other president in our lifetimes, and you go, oh, well, hot shit, everyone hated everybody. I mean, like, honestly, the dude is equal or -1 under Obama, the last time that we, I think saw the returning of FDR. Like, Obama and Bush, it was the exact same as Trump in this time of the term. That's weird. They don't lead with that story. It's almost like they want propaganda just to destroy the man. Well, we haven't seen it for 10 years or anything. But here's the other thing that I want to address, and this is really important for you to understand. I believe the number in the last 100 years of houses that were kept by an incumbent president in the midterms is 3 out of 100. 3%. Okay? Now, I don't tell you that to be a Debbie Downer. I personally think all these changes happen and it actually does get avoided. It's highly possible. But when you're looking at a 3% historical rate, all of this crowing that the Democrats are doing about, oh my God, it's over, we're going to win, and we're going to have a final repudiation of Donald Trump, and it's never happened before, we never win, oh my God, we're going to win. 97% of the time, the opposing party has won, Republican or Democrat. It's part of the zeitgeist of the American psyche. We don't like one party in control for a long time unless they really deserve it. 3 out of 100 times. That's why I highlight all of these things, is because if you're going to have an outcome that's going to benefit the American people, they need to know about it, hence my YouTube channel, which is why I cover the things I cover, to give you a little bit of perspective, which a lot of people aren't going to do. Anyway, now we're going to have a little bit of a monologue, because this is where I think the next one's Somalia. Yep, next one's Somalia, or Minnesota, whatever. Fraud, who cares? All right. Now's the moment, people. Get your beverages, get your popcorn. We're about to go into fraud land. We've got everything. We've got FBI directors unleashing hell on earth. We've got ICE agents coming in. We've got the Small Business Association loans getting revoked. We've got billions of dollars going out the door in fraud. We have billions of dollars getting halted from the federal government of national taxpayers, not going into Minnesota, which is being defrauded. This is going to be a spicy one. And this is what I want to say about this whole thing. Everything I brought you to this point brings us to the moment. We're going to meet the moment, guys, as the lefties like to say. And if you've been a fan of the show, you know that little stab right there. They love saying we're going to meet the moment. When you partner, and this is what I said earlier, when you partner the extreme nanny state enabling, California, Minnesota, New York, from drug overdoses to drug addicts to providing needles and bong hits and all these different pieces of paraphernalia because they're going to do it anyway. So you're just going to pay for it on the taxpayer dime. Yeah, that checks out. Then you go over here to Minnesota, which we're about to dive into deeply. And when you have all of these liberal underpinned virtue signals in these ethos and all of these pieces of worldview, where there's infinite amounts of money, there's a redistributionist method of approach to the people who have money and giving to people who do not have money, i.e. immigrants or the less of these, or whatever you want to call it, right? That's what they always do. They always come up with a cute little term. But when you partner extreme enabling welfare state with another trait, which is very tied to that same emotional empathy, which is avoiding accountability, anything uncomfortable, you end up with a recipe of absolute and abject failure. It's that simple. They didn't put guardrails in place for their entire welfare state that was being funded by the national taxpayers and by the state level taxpayers. And then they got defrauded, and when someone raised an eyebrow, the the government at the state level said, how dare you be a racist or an Islamophobe or whatever phobe you want, or a Somali phobe or whatever, you're just being a meanie pants, and it added up to $18 billion. This is why it's going to affect the national Democrats. Because if Republicans have a brain, which I honestly believe somebody out there does, you're talking about pairing an ultimate abject failure of a nanny state, one of the farthest left blue states in the United States. You're talking about that abject failure using the same policies they push across the entire United States and all of their House races and all their Senate races and all their White House bids. And then you pair that with the policies that are working and everything's coming down. It is a recipe for manna from heaven. Because openly, empathy is great. Not when you overuse it and not when it's a towering strength. For my corporate people there, you guys know what I'm referring to. Overuse of accountability and the point of where it's kind of a bit overbearing is a towering strength of accountability. There is a blend. Okay? The blending is where it's important. All right, now we've done a little bit of a monologue. We set the table. Harry Enton has come and gone. Now we're going to dive into some of the greatest things that you're ever going to see, and you're not going to stop hearing about it for the next 12 months because this is emblematic of the leftist ideological purge. Okay, here we go. FBI Director Kash Patel. Minnesota fraud scheme. If you guys are not familiar, you should watch all the things that I sourced in the description box right down there. The FBI is aware of a recent social media report in Minnesota. However, even before the public conversation escalated online, the FBI has surged personnel and investigative resources to Minnesota to dismantle large-scale fraud schemes exploiting federal programs. To date, the FBI dismantled a $250 million fraud scheme that stole federal food aid meant for vulnerable children during COVID. Oh, that's not 10 pounds of camel shit in a 9-pound bag. You're taking money, you're defrauding money for children during COVID. Good God, were you at least wearing masks while you did it? Oh my God. Ugh, it's so gross. The cash led to 78 indictments and 57 convictions. These criminals didn't just engage in historic fraud, but tried to subvert justice as well. That guy, I'm not going to say his name, I don't think I'm going to try, and others were charged for attempting to bribe a juror with $120,000 in cash. Those responsible pled guilty and were sentenced, including a 10-year prison term and nearly $48 million in restitution in related cases. This is great. Good job, Tim Walz. Almost our VP. Well, not almost, but potentially could have been. I mean, they got smoked out the wazoo, but the chance was there. The FBI believes it's just the tip of a very large iceberg. We will continue to follow the money and protect children, and this investigation very much remains ongoing. Furthermore, many are also being referred to immigration officials for possible further denaturalization and deportation proceedings where eligible. You're telling me people who were in the country illegally were openly defrauding the state of Minnesota and the national tax dollars, and they're eligible to get kicked their butts out? I mean, like, how many ways can you screw this up? Pause for dramatic effect. I've got one for you. Hey, look, it's Tim Walz. Look what he's doing. In light of all the $18 billion of fraud, yeah, this is what he just announced, I believe today. It may have been, no, 2 days ago. This is what he just announced 2 days ago. This guy was almost VP. Well, again, not almost. He could have been VP.
Insurance program for you that allows you, again, to take care of what you need to take care of without being forced to choose between your family, your bonding with your child, your own health, and your economic well-being. Because in Minnesota, you can do both. And we proved that time and time again.
Oh, goody. Another entitlement program. This is kind of like the thing that they do with gun control when all the shootings happen in gun control zones. And then they go, we just need more gun control because the gun control didn't work. So we obviously need more gun control. It's kind of like the Kamala Harris. I lose every election I've ever taken part in, but I need a promotion. What? Okay. All right. Listen, I'm starting to get spicy. We're approaching the 36-minute mark. That's when things go wrong. All right. Here's some more stuff. Elon Musk jumping into the fray. Industrial scale fraud. Yeah, it is. It is. Watch this. $18 billion, guys. $18 billion of taxpayer dollars. If you're in Minnesota, I don't know how do you, oh, goodness gracious. All right, let's watch this again. Doug Cutler with the $2 super chat trying to get me in trouble says 10% for the big tampon. I'm just here to read the super chats. All right, here we go. Watch this. This is insane, guys. Please share this out. Emojis, chats, comments. Let's get it.
FBI agents carried out boxes of files from Ultimate Home Health Services in Bloomington Thursday morning.
Oh, don't do that, X. Don't do that. We're in a vibe. We're in a move.
State suspended its license this month after discovering alleged fraud in its Integrated Community Supports Program, or ICS. The door is broken there, and federal prosecutors say Minnesota's entire Medicaid program seems broken.
What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
Staggering industrial scale fraud. I'm going to reload this because I want to give you video as well because I try to give you the very optimized freedom that I can. Here we go. Yeah, industrialized fraud. How freaking nuts is this? $18 billion? Hey, I know. We should do another welfare entitlement program. Good God. Oh my goodness. All right, let's get back to it. Sorry. The FBI agent in charge. Here we go.
Fraud.
Prosecutors charged 6 people with fraud Thursday, but none yet in ICS. They say Minnesota did a bad job of creating guardrails, so the state became a target.
I'm sorry. I just have to say it. Don't you think like bad job creating guardrails might be like you lost like $100,000 or like, hey, someone stole $250,000. Like, I don't know. Like, is there a sliding scale? You guys tell me, because I feel like $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 is you did a bad job creating guardrails. $18 billion freaking dollars might be a little larger than you did a bad job with guardrails. Oh my God, giving guardrails a bad freaking name. I don't know. God, maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe we're past the 36-minute mark and I'm just getting punchy. All right, here we go. Let's keep it going.
for fraud, even by people from out of state. For the first time, they charged 2 men accused of fraud tourism, coming from Philadelphia, setting up shell businesses,
fraud
then
tourism.
billing Minnesota from back home. In all, the state has declared 14 programs as high risk, and those programs have cost $18 billion since 2018. So how much of that is fraud?
That's the $18 billion question. The answer is far too much.
So far, prosecutors have proved about $350 million in fraud, but they say that's just the tip of the iceberg. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson said a significant portion of the $18 billion could be fraudulent.
When I say a significant amount, I'm talking on the order of half or more, but we'll see.
Half or more. And someone just said, Beige Bones said, did y'all see Nick Shirley's investigation into the $1 million daycare? Oh, you are reading my script. These little 5 tabs left, that is going to be in there. You guys just hold the phone. If you haven't seen it, what he's referencing, just wait. I'm about to give it to you. Guys, $9 billion minimum? Oh, thank God. I thought it was a problem. Thank goodness we didn't, had a bit of a guardrail issue. Good God. Good God. Enough of the first attorney. All right. Let's go over here. You know who that is? That's Kelly Loeffler. You know who Kelly Loeffler is? Is that Kelly Loeffler? That's her last name. Yeah, Loeffler. She's the small administration executive. She just dropped the hammer on Somalia and cuts off all Minnesota. This woman, right here, on the right, she just cut off all Minnesotan SBA loans. It sucks to suck. Maybe you should have not had a guardrail issue. All right. SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler tells me she is disgusted and sickened by Nick Shirley's expose, which is what he was just referring to in the chat, of Somali small business fraud and is taking immediate action. SBA is cutting off and clawing back all SBA grants to Minnesota effective immediately. Wow. I tell you what. Talk about FAFO. If you're in Minnesota, I would be pissed. I don't know, but I'm just me. I'm just a guy in Florida. That free state of Florida that's growing so fast with no income tax. All right, here we go. Let's keep on going. Loeffler tells me that the SBA was able to uncover $500 million of fraud within days of investigating Minnesota. She says this is due to Tim Walz's refusal to enforce laws governing small business and the governor's allowance and facilitation of fraud. Okay, who's going to jail? Like in the government. I'm not talking about the Somalis. I'm talking about who's going to jail. Like, good God. Who's going to jail for not having the good guardrails? That's what I want to know. Who was the guardrails installation expert that failed their job? Good God. But anyway, FAFO, no more SBA loans for Minnesota. This is the actual video in question. If you guys were wondering that they were just talking about, of course, make sure that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. Emojis, chats, and comments make the world go round. But this is the video in question right here. I'll play a little bit of it. Hold on a second, just so you guys can know what I'm talking about.
Minnesota Child Care right here. It's from the state of Minnesota's website. We're just wondering where the children are.
Where the children are?
Yeah, where are the children? It says you have 102 children here. And you got $2.66 million this year in funding, and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley.
And where are you? Which department?
Oh, we are from ourselves.
Yeah.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. Look at that. Shut us down.
2.5 last year, 2.6 this year. Where are the children? Because I know that children are usually very quiet. Y'all, I'm about to outlie all the money. It's truly insane. It's just insane. All right, here we go. Here's the numbers. $100 million so far in Minnesota fraud from the kid. Well, not a kid. He's an adult. I'm just old. That guy just saw it. Quality Learning Center, $4.5 million. Future Leaders Early Learning Center, $6.67 million. $4.6 million, $3 million. Let's see. 22 healthcare and autism service entities. Over $110 million in taxpayer payments tied to the locations he visited. The video is already at 40 million views and continues to climb. Mother of pearl. All right, let's keep on going. Good job, Timmy. I've already shown you this. FBI Director Kash Patel announced he has surged agents to Minnesota to combat the widespread fraud. And there's, the obligatory FBI agents carrying out boxes of evidence. Do I want to watch that? Yeah, why not? Yep, there they are. They're walking out. They got boxes. All right, you get the idea. Hit the wrong button. Sorry. And this one right here, This is more of the same thing. This is what I touched on earlier. This is why it boggles my mind, the end of this. So, Kash Patel, as I showed you in his little statement, many are also being referred to immigration officials for possible further denaturalization and deportation proceedings where eligible. Like, why? I mean, they're here illegally and they're getting $18 billion in fraud because Minnesota can't put up guardrails? Like, you could have just layered the whole state in real guardrails. It would have been cheaper. Good God. Anyway. Goodness. I was going to be a little snarky with this part. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I don't even care. Here you go. I asked the official about the Act Blue donations to Democrat candidates from the fraudulent Somali daycares. Act Blue donations to Democrat candidates from the fraudulent Somali daycare. Act Blue, that sounds familiar. I know some people that are all over the political spectrum who are tied to Act Blue who are pretty nefarious characters. In fact, there's even a couple in the gun world that I know about. That's the snarky point. It's weird how the people who would be tied in business would have ties to Act Blue, and they were tied to donations to Democratic candidates from the fraudulent Somali daycares. Also, they went after independents. If you know, you know. Act Blue is under criminal investigation by the FBI for fraudulent payments that may break American election law. I mean, I'm going to be out on a limb. If you're tied to Act Blue in any way, shape, or form through any type of connection, you might want to check your shit. Just saying. If you know, you know. That's a little bit veiled. You guys, it's okay. You don't need to tell everything. But yeah, it turns out that Act Blue is fully involved in this entire thing too. So let's sum this up. So you have a very brutal and inefficient deployment of guardrails, which is obviously very, very bad. Very bad. You have fraud out the wazoo, $18 billion accused, $9 billion confirmed. Small business loans have been seized and stopped and halted immediately to Minnesota from the national government, which I think is personally pretty awesome. You have a few polling things that are going on that I showed you with Harry Inton. You've got money and all the money going up, gas going down, costs going down. Overall, this was a pretty chock full episode. We ended up getting to about 46 minutes, which is right in the sweet spot. And Act Blue. That's right. That's right. Oh, this is all a waste of time. Nobody will be charged. Oh, Slay School. I do not agree. I think that this is a political football that is going to be used for the next 12 months, which is why I titled it as such in this live stream. Listen, I love each and every one of you just the right amount. I hope this video brought you through the woods in a gentle manner, following the breadcrumbs to the witch's house, straight up Hansel and Gretel style. But don't worry. We're going to have a good time. We're going to do it again tomorrow. Listen, I love each and every one of you again, just the right amount that makes you feel comfortable. We are saving this country together, and thank each of you for your involvement in this channel, whether it's liking, subscribing, commenting, chatting, emojiing, whatever you're doing. If you are generous in the super chats, also amazing with those gas savings. I will see you guys